The dusty wind swept across the old town as the evening sun dipped low, painting the sky in streaks of fire. The saloon doors creaked, wagons rattled past, and somewhere a dog barked into the emptiness. Amid the noise, a small boy with torn boots and frightened eyes was being dragged by a man. With greed in his heart, a man who had already sold too much of the boy's life for a few coins of whiskey. The boy stumbled, his little voice breaking through the noise as he cried out, "Please don't sell me too." His words were raw, heavy with a fear too big for someone so small, and for a moment the street seemed to fall silent, as if even the wind itself held its breath. That was when the cowboy stepped forward, tall and steady, his boots thudding against the boards of the walkway. His hat shadowed his eyes, but the steel of his gaze cut through the cruelty on the man's face. He reached out, taking the boy's trembling hand in his own. Rough yet gentle, and in a voice that carried both thunder and comfort, he said one word that would change everything: "Son." The man snarled, tried to protest, but the townsfolk had already gathered, whispering of the sheriff's badge gleaming on the cowboy's vest, a symbol of justice long awaited. With quiet power, the cowboy stood between the boy and the man who would sell him, declaring before all that no child would be traded like cattle in his town. The man cursed and spat, but when the cowboy's hand rested near his revolver, the greed melted into fear and he backed away into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but the stench of shame. The boy clung to the cowboy's hand, his tears cutting lines through the dust on his cheeks, and for the first time in years he felt safe. The cowboy lifted him onto his horse, the leather saddle creaking as the boy settled in front of him, and together they rode toward the horizon where a new life awaited. On the journey, the cowboy spoke softly, telling him of wide fields, of a ranch where laughter replaced hunger, of nights spent under the stars with no one to fear. The boy listened, his heart slowly learning what hope felt like, and though he did not yet understand the depth of the cowboy's promise, he held on to that word, son, like it was a lifeline. At the ranch, the boy met a woman with kind eyes who took him into her arms as if he had always belonged. The kitchen smelled of fresh bread, the barn rang with the gentle lowing of cattle, and for the first time, he fell asleep in a bed where nightmares could not reach him. Yet the story did not end there, for the boy still carried scars unseen, memories of nights without food, days of cruel words and colder hands. But every time fear rose, the cowboy was there, teaching him how to ride, how to stand tall, how to look the world in the eye. "Blood doesn't make a man a father," the cowboy said one night by the fire, his voice steady as the stars shone above. "Love does, and you, boy, you're mine now." The child nodded, still too young to fully understand, but in the years that followed, those words became the foundation of a life, built not on what he had lost, but on what he had been given. He grew into his boots, into his strength, into a man who remembered the night when someone chose him, instead of selling him away. He became proof that mercy could break chains, that one act of courage could heal what the world tried to destroy. And all the while the cowboy watched with quiet pride, knowing that saving one boy was worth more than all the gold, all the land, all the victories a man could ever win. So when you hear this tale, remember the power of that one word, son. It is not just a word, but a promise, a bond, a salvation for those who believe themselves forgotten. And if this story has touched your heart, if it has reminded you of the strength that comes from kindness and courage, then I invite you to join us for more stories like this one. Subscribe to the channel, be part of a family that keeps these tales alive, and together, we will carry forward the legacy of hope, faith, and love. For somewhere someone still whispers, "Please don't sell me too," and it takes a heart like yours, and a story like this to answer back with the word that changes everything: son.